Hey you, so you've decided to start learning French. Today we'll be learning the most basic things anyone should learn in any language. And so we'll be starting with greetings, also how to introduce yourself, give your name, tell people where you come from and things like that. We'll start with the greetings. In French, greetings is salutation. 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 And it has the same root as the English word salute. Salutation. Salutation. The most standard way of greeting someone in French, you probably already know that, is bonjour. 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 And so literally bon means good and jour means day. So it literally means good day. Bonjour. Bonjour. So you have to be careful with bon. It's very nasal. Bon. Bonjour. And jour, the last letter is a bit tricky. You'll have to practice. Bonjour. That's hello. What about in the afternoon? So in English, we can say good afternoon. Good afternoon. But in French, can we say bon après-midi? Which is what it literally means. Bon après-midi. Bon après-midi. Actually, we don't. So in the morning or in the afternoon, you'll always say bonjour. Bonjour. Après-midi, literally, midi is noon. Après is after, so it's exactly the same meaning. Après-midi, afternoon. However, in the evening, you can say bonsoir. Good evening, bonsoir. Bonsoir. Soir is the evening, so bonsoir, good evening. Now, this is not really a greeting, bonne nuit, but it's good to know. And it's similar to the other expressions. Bonne nuit. Bonne nuit. Bonne nuit, literally, good night. So far, you might have noticed that a lot of letters are not pronounced in French. I'm really sorry to say that this is French. And so there are so many letters that won't be pronounced, unfortunately. So the best thing to do is to listen to me and repeat. And then after that, understand how spelling works and try to find ways, mnemonic ways to remember how it's written. So usually letters are there for a reason. Most of the time it's going to be historical reasons. So here O and N will be pronounced on. It's always going to be like that. O and U will be pronounced ou. So in bonjour we pronounce everything. Bon après-midi. So again we don't say that. So let's just look at après-midi. Après we don't pronounce the S. Après-midi. Bonsoir here. O and I. It becomes wa, bonsoir, and we pronounce everything. Bonne nuit, there is a final T that we don't pronounce. Bonne nuit. And one thing that I would add about French is the fact that usually final E, final E, can be, or it feels more natural to devocalize them. Put all the N together and it's going to be bonne nuit, bonne nuit, bonne nuit. Instead of bonne nuit, well, which is correct. If you want to say it like that, it's perfectly fine, but most of the people would just say bonne nuit, bonne nuit. All right, moving on. What about in the morning? In English, we can say good morning. In France, we don't say bon matin. However, in Canada, or in Quebec, the French-speaking part of Canada, you might hear it, bon matin. But it's an Anglicism. So maybe what happened is that there were Anglophones using it, just translating good morning to bon matin, and the local population just started using it as if it was normal, but the people who really want to go by the book would never say that. Just remember, morning, afternoon, if you want to be proper and if you want to be correct, use bonjour. Bonjour. So from morning to afternoon, it's bonjour, and in the evening, you switch to bonsoir. But don't be shocked if you go to Canada, for example, and people start saying bon matin. It has a nice sound to it. It sounds cute, if you want my opinion. But now you know how to say morning. Matin. Matin. So I and N together becomes un. So here we pronounce everything matin. Speaking of Quebec, sometimes people will say allô to say hello. Allô. It sounds like hello. In France, we only use it when answering the phone. Allô? 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 In French, double L, sometimes it's going to be pronounced like in Spanish, y, not in this case. And it's not going to also double the consonant. So it's not going to be allô, it's allô, as if there was only one L. Allô? 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 So in Canada, you can use it to say hello when you meet someone in the street. in France, well, in Canada as well, actually. So allô, when you answer the phone in all French-speaking countries, and in North America, you can use it to say hi. A bit less formal, hi. That's salut, salut, salut. So you can see that there is a T at the end, so that's because it's the shortened version of salutation. But now people use it every day to say hi and bye. Salut. Some people use coucou, coucou, coucou. So here again, we pronounce everything. O and U together are pronounced ou, coucou. That's the thing. I wouldn't personally use it, but if you want to sound cute or if you want someone to feel close to you, you can use it. Coucou. Sometimes in very old-fashioned movies, or if people want to give a style to their speech, you'll hear them say bien le bonjour, bien le bonjour, bien le bonjour. It's a bit, it's not weird and it's correct, but I've never used it myself and I don't know a lot of people who would. So I actually added the international alphabet here, the phonetic alphabet. I don't know if it's useful. The best thing to do is to repeat I, E, N together. It becomes ien, ien, bien, bien le bonjour, bien le bonjour. Again, very old-fashioned, but it's good to know in case you hear that in a movie. So bien literally means good. So that's the thing. There is bien and there is bon. Good and evil is going to be le bien et le mal. Bien le bonjour. Now this one is used in Europe mostly. It comes from Algerian Arabic supposedly, and now it's used to say hi. It's very, very, very colloquial. Don't use it with anybody. Just use it to people who say that to you. So it's wesh, wesh. And I wrote what up in English. It's not exactly the same, but it's to show the level of informality. What up, wesh. These are my selection. In standard formal, I would say bonjour or bonsoir, depending on the moment of the day. Allô, when I answer the phone, allô. And in an informal setting, salut, bonjour, bonsoir, allô, salut. Self-introduction. In French, we say présentation, présentation. Basically, presentation, presenting oneself. I'm presenting myself. Présentation. And it's in plural. Les présentations. How to say nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So the most standard way, and the easiest actually, is enchanté. 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 It has the same root as the English enchanted. Or in other words, charmed. So that's the thing. In English, it might sound very, well, it's nice to meet you. It's nice, you know. It's not that strong. But in French, it's really like, oh, I'm charmed. You've enchanted me when you meet someone. So enchanté, it's way more powerful. Enchanté. Actually, if you want to have the bigger expression, nice to meet you, it's enchanté de vous rencontrer. Enchanté de vous rencontrer. Enchanté de vous rencontrer. And again here, we can get rid of the E, we can devocalize it, and it becomes enchanté de vous rencontrer. Enchanté de vous rencontrer, which makes it a bit more natural. Enchanté de vous rencontrer. The sentence is not complete, so let's complete it. Actually, in English also, when you say nice to meet you, it's not the full sentence. If you want to make it a full sentence, it's nice to meet you. It is nice to meet you. Now in French, it's je suis enchanté de vous rencontrer. Je suis enchanté de vous rencontrer. Here, don't forget the liaison. So because suis ends with an S, you have to make a Z sound before enchanté. Je suis enchanté de vous rencontrer. And the reason why there is an E here is because if you identify yourself as a woman, you should add an extra E. Je suis enchanté de vous rencontrer. When you say it, it doesn't change at all. You're going to pronounce exactly the same thing, but just keep in mind if you write something and you identify yourself as a woman, add an extra E. Je suis enchanté de vous rencontrer. Now, here comes the vouvoiement and the tutoiement. It's very important in French. Vouvoiement is when we say vous, votre, vos, etc. Well, let's start with the tutoiement. Tutoiement, it's tu, te, ton, te, and it's when you say you to one person. Sometimes it's difficult for English speakers because in English we don't use it. Whether you speak to one person or to a group of people, you're going to say you. In a formal context or informal context, you're going to say you to people. In French, if you speak to one person, if it's informal, if it's a friend, if it's a colleague, you're going to use tu. If it's your boss, if you want to show respect, it's going to be vous. Very important. Vous is also the plural form of tu. You know, in Spanish, there is also tú y vosotros. Vosotros is for many people, like you're speaking to a group of people informally. But then there is a level of formality for both. So for tú, it's going to be usted, and for vosotros, it's going to be ustedes. In French, we don't have that. So if you want to show respect to one person, it's going to become vous, but to a group of people, it stays vous. All right? We saw enchanté de vous rencontrer, but you can say enchanté de te rencontrer. You can speak in a proper way, but informally. And let's say you're speaking to your boss's kid. So you would use the tu form because obviously you're way older. Usually you'll just say enchanté to most people. But if you want to say enchanté de te rencontrer, it makes it a bit more formal, but you'll use the tu form, if it makes any sense. Now, another version is to replace enchanté by ravi. Ravi de vous rencontrer, ravi de te rencontrer, ravi. It's a synonym. There is no big difference. You can choose to say enchanté. Oh, that's the thing. You can use enchanté by itself. It's the shortest, easiest, most standard way of saying nice to meet you. But ravi, you can't use it as it is. You can't just say ravi. You have to make a sentence with ravi. So, ravi de vous rencontrer, or je suis ravi de vous rencontrer. Je suis ravi de te rencontrer. Otherwise, enchanté de vous rencontrer, ravi de vous rencontrer, exactly the same thing. Now, if you want to add a bit of formality, then it's going to become ravi de faire votre connaissance. Ravi de faire votre connaissance. Ravi de faire ta connaissance. Same with enchanté. Enchanté de faire ta connaissance. Enchanté de faire votre connaissance. So it literally means make your acquaintance. Faire is to make, to do. Votre or ta is your. Connaissance, your acquaintance. Connaissance is a feminine word, so it's ta and not ton. Enchanté de faire ta connaissance. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you. You can definitely say that in French. C'est un plaisir de vous rencontrer, or c'est un plaisir de te rencontrer. So pleasure, plaisir, it's similar to English. C'est, it's, it is, un, pleasure, plaisir, to, de, meet, rencontrer, you, vous. C'est un plaisir de vous rencontrer, or c'est un plaisir de te rencontrer. Or, you can change de vous rencontrer by de faire votre connaissance, same thing here. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. C'est un plaisir de faire votre connaissance. It's an honor, exactly the same in French. C'est un honneur. C'est un honneur. C'est un honneur, and you can also add at the end, it's an honor to meet you. C'est un honneur de vous rencontrer. C'est un honneur. Well, usually when it's an honor, you wouldn't be informal with the person you speak with, so I wouldn't say c'est un honneur de te rencontrer. You could if the guy is a bit younger or if you feel a close connection with the person, but usually you would say c'est un honneur de vous rencontrer, or just c'est un honneur is fine. Just keep it simple, right? If you want to be very formal, you can say ravi de faire votre connaissance. A bit less formal, enchanté de vous rencontrer, or the standard way of saying enchanté, just keep it simple. That's what I use 95% of the time, enchanté. Or you can say c'est un honneur, it's an honor. If you want to literally translate my name is, it's mon nom est. Mon nom est. Mon name, nom, is est. If you look closely, mon and nom, it's reversed. So that's maybe a way to remember it. It's funny because in French, O and N and O and M are pronounced exactly the same way. Mon nom. On. Mon nom est. Mon nom est Julien. Mon nom est Julien. That sounds a bit formal though. Well, it sounds formal, but it's used. I would use it. But I would use it, let's say, if I go on a stage. And I would say, my name is Julien to a crowd of people. Mon nom est Julien. Most of the time, like maybe 80% of the time, or maybe more, 90% of the time, I would say, je m'appelle. Je m'appelle. Je m'appelle. Je is I. Me is myself. Here it's contracted because the next word starts with a vowel. And appel is call. Je m'appelle. Je m'appelle Julien. Je m'appelle Julien. So that's the most common way of introducing yourself. Je m'appelle, whatever your name is. Here you can devocalize the E. Contract it a little to make it je m'appelle. Je m'appelle. That's a bit more natural. You can say je m'appelle Julien, but most of the people will contract it to je m'appelle Julien. Or you can say I am. It's good to know that, not only for giving your name, but in general, saying I am, I'm tired, or I'm French, I am busy, I am, just remember it, je suis. So this is the proper way of pronouncing it. Now, most of the people will contract it. So you can devocalize the E and make it je suis. You can contract it even more to just keep the suis. Here in North America, people will actually get rid of the I and it becomes je suis québécois. Or sometimes you can even get rid of the U as well and it becomes je québécois, je français, je fatigué. So you can contract it, but the more you contract, the less formal it's going to be. If you want to be proper, je suis, or just devocalize the E, je suis, and it's fine. This is another very natural way of saying it. I would say that it's 50-50 with je m'appelle. Moi c'est Julien. It's a very nice way to introduce yourself. So, moi c'est Julien. Literally, moi is me. Me, it's moi c'est. Me, it's Julien. It doesn't sound very natural in English, that's normal, but in French, this is something that I use as often, if not more, than je m'appelle. Moi c'est Julien. Good to know. So first name is prénom. Mon prénom, my first name. Pré is just like in English when you say pre something, pre-recording, pre-party, it comes before. Prénom. My family name is mon nom de famille. So, mon nom, my name, de, of, famille, family, my name of family, my family name. Mon nom de famille. Here again, the final E here in de, you can contract it and devocalize it. Mon nom de famille, right? We don't really have a word to say last name. Last is dernier nom. We don't say that in French. We only say mon nom de famille. This is something that you can use if you have a nickname or if you want people to call you a certain way. But call me, mais appelle-moi in the tu form, or mais appelez-moi in the vous form. Mais appelle-moi, mais appelez-moi. Mais appelle-moi, a usual nickname for Julien is Juju. Mais appelle-moi Juju. Mais appelez-moi Juju. So, if you want to form a full sentence, je m'appelle Julien, mais appelle-moi Juju. Je m'appelle Julien, mais appelez-moi Juju. So you can try it with your name. Now, the good thing is that to call in French is also used for when you call someone on the phone. So if you want to say call me, you can say appelle-moi. Call me later, appelle-moi plus tard. Mais appelle-moi, appelez-moi. Appelez-moi, appelle-moi, call me. What is your name? What is your name? So literally translated, what is your name is quel est votre nom? Or quel est ton nom in the tu form, in the tutoiement. Quel, what, or which. Et, is, votre, or ton, your, nom, name. Quel est votre nom? Quel est ton nom? It works fine. Well, some people use it. It, again, might sound a bit formal. If you want to use the literal translation of what, it's quoi. Quoi. And you could ask, c'est quoi votre nom? C'est quoi votre nom? C'est is it's, you should know it by now. Quoi is what? Votre nom, your name. So literally, it's what's your name. What is your name? But it, again, doesn't sound proper. Some people might use it, but I would avoid it if I were you. C'est quoi votre nom? Here again, votre, you can devocalize the E and even the R and make votre nom. C'est quoi votre nom? That's going to sound more natural. C'est quoi votre nom? If you want to flirt with someone, you can say c'est quoi ton nom, or even c'est quoi ton petit nom? What's your little name? It's a very aggressive way of flirting, so I wouldn't recommend it either, but it exists if you want. C'est quoi ton nom? C'est quoi votre nom? So in French, if you say je m'appelle, obviously you can ask the question comment vous appelez-vous? Comment vous appelez-vous? So comment, how, vous, you, appelez-vous, call yourself. Comment t'appelles-tu? In the tu form. Comment t'appelles-tu? Comment vous appelez-vous? It's perfectly fine. One thing you should know in French is that this is the proper syntax, but most of the people don't respect it. So it's going to be more natural to say comment vous vous appelez? instead of comment vous appelez-vous, comment vous vous appelez. I know it's a repetitive vous. It's very difficult to pronounce, but you'll have to get used to it. Comment vous vous appelez? Comment vous vous appelez? Comment vous vous appelez? And here also you can devocalize this E here. Comment vous vous appelez? Comment vous vous appelez? Or comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Very natural. Way more than comment vous appelez-vous et comment t'appelles-tu. How do we say I come from in French? Literally, je viens de or je viens du. So je means I, viens means come, de or du, depending on the word that follows, is from. Je viens de France. Je viens de France. Again, we can devocalize the two E here. Je viens de France. That sounds a bit more natural. Je viens de France instead of je viens de France. Now, you might hear some people say je viens de la France. Je viens de la France. La is the definite article. And because France is feminine, we say la France. La France est un grand pays. France is a big country. La France. No mistake whatsoever here. But in this sentence, je viens de la France, when you say je viens de followed by a country that's feminine and starts with a consonant, you're not supposed to use the definite article. So it is grammatically incorrect. You're only supposed to say je viens de France. Now, some French people will make the mistake because they don't know the grammatical rule, but you can correct them if you want because that's something that French people like to do, correcting other people who speak French, and it's going to be the case for all the feminine countries. So one thing you should know is the fact that all the countries, well, most of the countries have a grammatical gender in French. You'll have to learn by heart what it is. And so feminine countries that start with a consonant, you're never gonna put the definite article. So here, if you come from China or if you come from Russia, it's je viens de Chine. Je viens de Russie. Canada is masculine, le Canada. So you say je viens de France. Je viens de France. I come from France. Je viens du Canada. Je viens du Canada. United States of America, it's several states, so it's plural. And in this case, we use des. Je viens des États-Unis. Je viens des États-Unis. And if it's a country that starts with a vowel, it becomes a D apostrophe. Je viens d'Espagne. Je viens d'Espagne. Je viens d'Espagne. I come from Spain. Je viens de France, or je viens de France. I come from France. Je viens du Canada. I come from Canada. Je viens des États-Unis. I come from the United States. Je viens d'Espagne. I come from Spain. So you can say I come from in English, but you can also say I am from. It's absolutely possible to do that in French too. It's the same thing. Je suis de France. Je suis du Canada. Je suis des États-Unis. But I think we might as well just change the sentence structure to an adjective. So instead of saying I am from France, I would say I am French. It makes more sense. It feels more natural. That's je suis français. Je suis français. Or if you want to contract it, je suis français. Je suis français. Je suis américain. Here, again, you have to make the liaison between the S and the A. Je suis américain. Je suis américain. Je suis américain. Yeah, some people will skip it, but keep in mind that liaison should be made. So je suis américain. Je suis américain sounds better. Je suis américain. I am originally from. Je suis originaire de, du, des apostrophes. Je suis originaire de, je suis, I am, you know that. Originaire, originally from, it's the best translation in English. Je suis originaire de, je suis originaire de Montréal. I am originally from Montreal. So you could use that if, for example, you have a more complicated story. Let's say that you were born in a country, you grew up in another one, your parents are from a different country, then I get that you would want to have different sentences. So for example, you live in Canada, but you were born in France and your parents are Japanese, then you can say je suis français, je viens du Canada et je suis originaire du Japon. It totally makes sense. So that's why I'm giving you that many options to choose from. If your parents are originally from a different country, you can say that. Je suis originaire de Montréal. Mes parents sont originaires du Liban. Mes parents, my parents, are originaires du Liban. Mes parents sont originaires du Liban. Same thing here. The T and O, you have to make the liaison, sont originaires. Mes parents sont originaires du Liban. That's if you want to sound proper. Again, a lot of people will not make the liaison. A lot of French speakers. I think it's better to show the example if you can. Mes parents sont originaires du Liban sounds better than mes parents sont originaires du Liban, even though it's understandable. And even though French speakers will make the mistake. Mes parents sont originaires du Liban. My family is originally from Japan. Ma famille est originaire du Japon. Ma famille est originaire du Japon. I was born in. Je suis né en à au. Je suis né, literally, I was born, and if you identify yourself as a woman, then you should add a final E. You don't hear the difference when you say it. It's not going to be je suis né. It's going to be je suis né for both. But if you're a woman and you're right, I was born somewhere, then you have to add a final E. Je suis né en à au. So there are 3 ways here of determining what you're going to choose. If the country is feminine, then it's en. Je suis né en France. Je suis né en Russie. Je suis né en Chine. If the country is masculine here, je suis né au Japon. It's le Japon. Japon is masculine. France is feminine. Je suis né au Maroc. Morocco is masculine. Maroc. Je suis né au Portugal. Portugal is masculine in French. If it's a city, if you want to give a city, then it's going to be à. Je suis né à Paris. I was born in Paris. Je suis né à Tokyo. I was born in Tokyo. So just to keep in mind. But in case you are wondering, just ask Google Translate. It usually works well with this kind of translation. So now a little recap. I come from, literally, je viens de, je viens du, je viens des apostrophes. Je viens du Canada, je viens de France, je viens des États-Unis, je viens d'Espagne. I am French, je suis français, je suis japonais, je suis brésilien, je suis I am. Where are you from? I'm gonna literally translate it to where do you come from? D'où venez-vous? Where is où? Venez is come, vous is you, and there is D apostrophe, which is from. So we saw de, sometimes it's D apostrophe when it's followed by a vowel. D'où venez-vous? D'où venez-vous? Very proper. D'où viens-tu? D'où viens-tu? In the tu form. French people don't like respecting the proper rule of putting the pronoun at the end of the question where it's supposed to be. So a more natural way to say it would be vous venez d'où? Vous venez d'où? Vous venez d'où? So here also, if you want to sound more natural, you can devocalize the first E, vous venez, instead of vous venez. Vous venez d'où? Vous venez d'où? Very natural. Or more proper, vous venez d'où? Vous venez d'où? Or in the tu form, tu viens d'où? Tu viens d'où? Now, if you want to say, where are you from? Where are you from? You can absolutely say, vous êtes d'où? Vous êtes, you are, from where? Vous êtes d'où? T'es d'où? Vous êtes d'où? T'es d'où? Now, the funny thing is that t'es d'où, there is a homonym. It becomes, are you soft? Are you soft? Vous êtes d'où? So we saw, I am originally from a place. So you could definitely ask the question, where are you originally from? Vous êtes originaire d'où? Vous êtes, you are, originaire de, you're originally from, où, where, from where. Or, t'es originaire d'où? I wouldn't personally recommend it because it could be seen as racist, even if it wasn't your intention. And I'm telling you from experience because some might say that I don't particularly look like a French person, but I come from a long line of Frenchmen, and I feel like the real question is, what exotic country are you from? It's okay, I don't see the bad intention and I would answer, but just to be careful, some people might take it the wrong way. The only context in which you could actually use it, someone told you, I'm from that country, and you know more specifically about the country, so you would say, oh, where are you from? Exactly, right? So, vous êtes originaire d'où exactement? Vous êtes originaire d'où exactement? If you just want to ask where you're from, I wouldn't recommend asking where you're from originally because you know what I mean. So, formally, d'où venez-vous? Or more naturally, vous venez d'où? Informally, tu viens d'où? Goodbye. The most standard way that you probably already know is au revoir. Au revoir. Au revoir. So it's the most basic translation to goodbye. It's the one that you'll learn in textbooks, and it's used, though it sounds very formal. Au revoir. Now again, you can devocalize the e in re. So most of the people would say au revoir, instead of au revoir, au revoir, au revoir. O here also, it can be an open O or a closed O. Au revoir or au revoir, au revoir. Actually, I wonder which one is more natural, but I would say that the closed O sounds more proper. Au revoir. If you want to say have a good day, have a good evening. Bonne journée. Bonne journée. Bonne journée. Bonne journée. Or have a good evening. Bonne soirée. Bonne soirée. If you paid attention to the first lesson, we started with bonjour. Bonjour. And now it's bonne journée. So bonjour is when you meet someone, you greet the person bonjour. And when you leave that person, you're going to say bonne journée. If it's still the day or the afternoon. Otherwise, it's going to be bonne soirée. It's pretty tricky, the difference between jour and journée. Just keep in mind that jour is 24 hours. Or the opposite of night. Jour et nuit. Un jour, c'est 24 heures. One day is 24 hours. As opposed to journée. Journée is a bit more vague in time. That being said, you'll have to learn some expressions by heart with both words. So bonjour is when you meet a person. Bonne journée is when you leave that person. Bonjour, hello. Bonne journée, have a good day. Bonsoir, good evening. Bonne soirée, have a good evening. Now, bye is actually used in French. You can say bye with a French accent. Bye. Otherwise, the most casual way of saying bye is salut. You already know salut, and you can use it to say hi or bye. Salut, 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 salut. Pretty much like Italian people would use ciao. So they say ciao to say hi and ciao to say bye. That being said, in French, we only use it to say bye with a French accent. Ciao, ciao. But I personally would use salut for both. Another one is adieu. 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 Adieu is farewell. It sounds like that. It's literally to God, meaning when we'll die, we'll meet each other in front of God. So adieu. In Switzerland, they would use that to casually say goodbye. Adieu. And in some places in Switzerland, I actually heard people say adieu to say hi. Adieu. Adieu. Now let's recap all that. Au revoir. Au revoir. Salut. Bye. Ciao. Bonne journée. Bonne soirée. Adieu. Other parting phrases. See you soon. À bientôt. À bientôt. À bientôt. Bientôt is literally soon. À is until. Until soon, actually. Until soon. À bientôt. See you soon. See you next time. See you next time. À la prochaine. À la prochaine. À la prochaine. Prochaine, it's actually not the full phrase. It should be à la prochaine fois, next time. So prochaine is next, but in the feminine form, because time, fois, is feminine in French. À la prochaine fois, but nobody says à la prochaine fois. Keep in mind that à la prochaine literally means until the next. À la prochaine. À la prochaine, so prochaine is next. So if you want to say see you next week, you can say à la semaine prochaine. À la semaine prochaine. À la semaine prochaine. À l'année prochaine. See you next year. À l'année prochaine. À l'année prochaine. See you later. See you later. À plus tard. À plus tard. So à until, plus, more, tard, late. So, until later. À plus tard, à plus tard. À tout à l'heure, à tout à l'heure. Tout is all, at, l'heure is time. All at time. Doesn't make sense, but it's a synonym of à plus tard. It's exactly the same thing. À plus tard, à tout à l'heure. In Paris, we don't use that very often. À tantôt, but in other regions or other European countries, or here in North America, in Canada, we use that a lot. À tantôt. It's shorter. It sounds like à bientôt. The meaning is that you're going to meet the person later on the same day. À tantôt. So they're all synonyms. À plus tard, à tout à l'heure, that you can use both equally in France. À tantôt in some other countries. À tantôt. I think in Belgium they use à tantôt as well. See you in a bit. À tout de suite. À tout de suite. Tout de suite is literally now, right now. Tout de suite. Tout, all, de, of, suite is following. So following right now, right at this moment. À tout de suite. Until now. So, well, it doesn't make sense in English, but the meaning is the same as see you in a bit. See you in a bit. See you in a sec. À tout de suite. À tout de suite. À tout de suite. So here, again, you can devocalize the E in de. À tout de suite. À tout de suite. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. À demain. Demain is tomorrow. À demain. Until tomorrow. À demain. Now, let's recap all that. À bientôt. À la prochaine. À plus tard. À tout à l'heure. À tantôt. À tout de suite. À demain. Please. The most standard way, the one that you're going to use most of the time, is s'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît. A lot of letters we don't pronounce here. S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît. And actually, s'il, it's very difficult to pronounce, so most of the people will pronounce it as a si. S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît. When they say it fast. S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît. Or, in the to form, s'il te plaît. S'il te plaît. S'il vous plaît in vouvoiement. S'il te plaît in tutoiement. And when you write in text messages, you can write it like that. SVP, SVP. Or here, s'il te plaît. Most of the people in a casual context will contract it. It's going to become s'il te plaît. S'il te plaît. S'il te plaît. S'il te plaît. In text messages, you'll write it STP. Now, different ways to say yes, please. Yes, please. Do you want to come to the game? Yes, please. Do you want to come to the concert? Yes, please. Avec plaisir. Literally with pleasure. Avec plaisir. Volontiers. Literally willingly. Volontiers, gladly, willingly. Thank you. Most of the people already know it's merci. Merci. It has the same root as the English word mercy. It used to have the same meaning, to have mercy on someone, so it's a bit darker than thank you, but today we use it to say thank you, to show appreciation. I know it's a bit difficult because there is this R sound, merci, merci. You'll just have to practice, merci. Now, if you want to say thank you for something, thank you for your help, for example, for is pour, pour, another R sound. Merci pour your help, ton aide, or merci pour votre aide. Merci pour votre aide, merci pour ton aide. Thank you to someone, or thank you all, merci à tous. Merci à tous. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Beaucoup is a lot. Thanks a lot. Merci beaucoup. Another form is merci bien. Merci bien, merci bien. It does sound a bit old-fashioned, merci bien. But you might hear some people say that, merci bien, merci bien. A big thank you, this one I like. Un grand merci. Un grand merci. Literally, un grand, a big merci, thank you. Un grand merci, un grand merci. 1,000 thanks, mille merci. I don't really use that. I guess in Italian, grazie mille is more used. Thanks 1,000 times. Merci mille fois. I heard that once too. Merci mille fois. Merci mille fois. Merci infiniment. I thank you infinitely. I thank you infinitely. Merci infiniment. If you want to sound a bit more proper, you would say je vous remercie. I thank you. So remercier is the verb of thanking someone. Je vous remercie. I thank you, literally. Je te remercie. Je vous remercie, je te remercie. And again, you can add the pour, for. I thank you for your support. Je vous remercie pour votre soutien. Je te remercie pour ton soutien. I thank you for the evening. Je vous remercie pour la soirée. Je te remercie pour le cadeau. I thank you for the gift. Je te remercie pour le cadeau. Again, here, devocalize the E. Je vous remercie pour la soirée. Je te remercie pour le cadeau. So let's recap. Many ways to say thank you. Merci, the most standard one that you should know. And you can couple it with merci bien, merci beaucoup, merci infiniment, merci mille fois. You can say mille merci, un grand merci, or if you want to sound a bit more proper, je vous remercie, je te remercie. I would personally use merci, merci beaucoup, un grand merci, and je vous remercie, ou je te remercie, depending on the context. You are welcome. You're welcome. The most common way to reply to thank you in French is de rien. De rien. De rien means of nothing. De means of, rien, nothing. Of nothing. It doesn't really make sense in English, but it's very common. It's what you reply to merci, de rien. You can say, to keep de rien, ce n'est rien. Ce n'est rien. It makes more sense. Ce n'est rien. Ce n'est rien. Ce n'est rien. Ce n'est, it's rien. Nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. More casually, you can just say c'est rien. Ah, c'est rien. Ah, c'est rien. C'est rien. Il n'y a pas de quoi. Il n'y a pas de quoi. Literally, there is no de quoi of what or of that. And it actually means there is no reason. There is no reason to thank me. Il n'y a pas de quoi. Or, more naturally contracted to y a pas de quoi. Y a pas de quoi. Y a pas de quoi. Je t'en prie. Ah, je t'en prie. Je t'en prie. Je t'en prie. Contracted. Je t'en prie. Ah, je t'en prie. You can actually combine two of them. Ah, je t'en prie, y a pas de quoi. Oh, y a pas de quoi, je t'en prie. Ah, y a pas de quoi, c'est rien. Je t'en prie. So literally, je t'en prie. I, t'en, to you. Prie, pray. It literally means to pray, but it's sometimes to beg. Je t'en prie. In a different context, you can say ça. Oh, je t'en prie, je t'en supplie. I beg you, please, please. So actually, je t'en prie could be translated to please. Oh, please, come on. Oh, please, it's nothing. In Canada, you can hear people say bienvenue. Bienvenue. It's an Anglicism. It comes from welcome, you're welcome. So now you know how to say welcome. Welcome to my house. We use that in French only in that sense. But in Canada, you can reply to thank you with bienvenue. However, again, the people who go by the book would say that it's an Anglicism and you should avoid using that. One that I like, particularly here in Canada, is ça fait plaisir or ça me fait plaisir. Ça fait plaisir, ça, it, fait, makes, plaisir, pleasure. And if you add the me, ça me fait plaisir, you can use both ça fait plaisir or ça me fait plaisir. So it makes pleasure to me. So it's a pleasure, it's my pleasure. That might be an Anglicism, but I like the sound of it. And usually it's the person who receives the gift or the service who would say, oh, ça me fait tellement plaisir. I'm so happy right now. Thank you so much. But in Canada, you can use it to someone saying thank you. Ah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Ça me fait plaisir. In Switzerland, I heard some people saying service. 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 It means it's a service. How to say yes in French? You might already know it. It's oui. 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 It sounds a bit like the English we, as in you and me. We can do anything. We. And I put Nutty here. I don't know if you know Nutty. In English, that's his name, Nutty, but in French, it's oui, oui. Oui, oui. So yes, yes, basically. That being said, just like in English, not everybody says yes. Most of the people will just say yeah, depending on the context. If you have to be formal, then probably you'll use yes. But actually, some people would say yeah, even in formal context. Yeah is ouais. Oui, ouais, ouais. Yep, yep. In French, you can say wep, wep. When you're not really convinced about something, you can say yeah, moi, moi. It's not that bad, but it's not that great. It's funny because a lot of people who start learning French will learn comme ci, comme ça. Comme ci, comme ça, like so. I never used that expression in my life, and most French people don't either, so it's always a bit funny to hear foreigners who come and are so happy to use comme ci, comme ça. I think you'd fit more right in the French culture using moi. Bof. Bof is also like, yeah, how are you feeling? Yeah, not that great. Moi bof. Moi bof. It sounds way more natural than comme ci, comme ça, just telling you. In Quebec, it's more nasal. So they'll say, well, not everybody, of course, but a lot of people will say ouin, ouin, ouin. So ouais, written like that, O-U-I-N, is how French people actually cry. Ouin, ouin, ouin. So ouin in Quebec, ouin in France. One is yeah, and the other one is crying. What about si? People who start learning French but who studied Spanish or Italian have the tendency of saying si. Now, si exists in French, but it's only used to refute a negation. So let's say someone says, you didn't do that, and you want to say, yes, I did. In this context, you can say si. C'est pas toi qui as fait ça. Si, c'est moi. You're not the one who did that. Yes, it's me. Il a pas assez d'argent. He doesn't have enough money. Si, je te le dis. Yes, he does. When someone says no, and you want to say yes, it's going to be si and not oui. Actually, you have to use si. You didn't buy a new car. Yes, I did. You didn't tell me that. Yes, I told you. Tu me l'as pas dit. Si, je te l'ai dit. Of course. Of course. Bien sûr. Bien sûr. A synonym is bien entendu. Bien entendu. Bien entendu. Bien sûr, bien entendu. Bien sûr is shorter, so I guess it's a bit more popular. Yes, of course. So if you want to insist on something, so let's say someone says no, then you reply yes, and then he says no again, and then after that you can insist again. Bien sûr que oui, or bien sûr que si. Tu me l'as pas dit. Bien sûr que si, je te l'ai dit. Yeah, of course I told you. Bien sûr que oui, bien sûr que si. An interjection that French people use all the time is ben, ben. I translated it to well in English. It's not exactly the same, but I think it's the closest. Well, yes, ben oui, ben oui, ben ouais, bah bien sûr, bah, like if you if you really want to imitate the utmost French attitude, it's gonna be bah, like really go down in your throat. Ben, ben oui, ben ouais, bah bien sûr. As deep as possible. Ben oui, ben non, bah bien sûr, bah oui, je sais. Now that was yes, oui, ouais. No. No is non. Non. Very nasal. Non. A lot of people would say non, non, with the mouth open. Non, non. No. Mais is literally but no. Doesn't really make sense in English. If you want to show your surprise, that's how you're going to say it. Mais non. Mais non. No way, that's impossible. Mais non, c'est pas possible. Mais non. Not at all. Pas du tout. Pas du tout. Pas du tout, literally not at all. Pas du tout. Actually, you can add the same mais here. Mais non. Mais pas du tout. Mais pas du tout. I totally disagree. Not at all. No way. Absolutely not. Literally, absolument pas. Absolutely not. Absolument pas. Mais absolument pas. So, mais, really, if you want to insist on something, add mais at the beginning, and it's going to sound very French. Mais absolument pas. Mais non, mais pas du tout. It's out of the question. C'est out of, hors de, the question. Question. C'est hors de question. C'est hors de question. Or you can just skip the c'est and just say hors de question. Out of the question. A synonym would be il n'en est pas question. It means the same thing. Hors literally means out of. Il n'en est pas question. It's not a question. There is no question. So it's a bit different, but the meaning in French is the same. C'est hors de question. Il n'en est pas question. And it's no way. There is no way I'm letting you do that in that sense. So it's a negation for an action that you refuse. No way, il n'en est pas question, c'est hors de question. I will never do that. I think not, so I don't think so. I think not, so I wrote I think not because it's closer to the literal translation. Je pense que non. Je pense, I think, very practical to remember. Que non, that no. Je pense que non, I think not. I think so. Je pense que oui. Very easy, you just have to change non by oui. Oui, non, yes, no. Je pense que non, je pense que oui. If you want to change I think for I believe is je crois. Je crois que non, je crois que oui. I believe not. I believe so. Je pense que non, je pense que oui. Devocalize the E in je. Je pense que non, contracted to make it more natural. Je pense que non, je pense que oui. If you want to say maybe, maybe is peut-être. Peut-être, peut-être. Peut-être literally means could be, literally, could be. Peut-être. Yes, no, maybe. Oui, non, peut-être. So, there are different ways to apologize in French, just as in English. If you want to stop someone in the street, or if you bump into someone accidentally, you'll say excuse me in English. And in French, it works the same way. Excusez-moi. 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 Or excuse-moi if you're speaking to someone clearly younger. Excuse-moi, literally, excuse me. You can also say je m'excuse, which sounds a bit more formal. Je m'excuse. So literally, I excuse myself. Je m'excuse. Or even more formal, veuillez m'excuser. Please excuse me. So the two first ones I would personally use when I want to stop someone in the street. Excusez-moi, excuse-moi. Je m'excuse, veuillez m'excuser in a very formal setting. If I'm eating in a banquet, I would say veuillez m'excuser. Please excuse me. And I would leave the room. If you want to apologize for something you did, for a mistake, you can say je suis désolé. Je suis désolé. Or contracted to make it more natural, je suis désolé. Je suis désolé. Je suis désolé. Je suis désolé. If you identify as a woman, add a final E. Je suis désolé. But again, when you say it, it's not going to make a difference. Je suis désolé for both. Or simply, sorry. Just like in English, you can say I am sorry, or sorry, you can say désolé. Désolé. With this expression, you can add adverbs that will make it a bit more powerful. Depending on the gravity of the mistake, of what you have to apologize for, you'll have different adverbs to make it stronger. So, I'm really sorry. Je suis vraiment désolé. Vraiment means really or truly. I'm truly sorry. Je suis vraiment désolé. Je suis vraiment désolé. Je suis vraiment désolé. I am sincerely sorry. So sincerely, sincèrement. It's very similar to English. I am sincerely sorry. Je suis sincèrement désolé. Je suis sincèrement désolé. I am deeply sorry. This one might be a bit too intense, but you never know. I'm deeply sorry. I don't want to say very intense things, but if you made a very, very big mistake that's impossible to forgive, then you can still say, I am deeply sorry. Je suis profondément désolé. Je suis profondément désolé. Je suis profondément désolé. So deeply, actually profondément has the same root as the English profound. I'm profoundly sorry. Je suis profondément désolé. You can replace je suis désolé by je suis navré. Je suis navré. It means exactly the same thing, but it sounds a bit more noble. Je suis navré. Je suis désolé, je suis navré. So less people use it. It's not necessarily stronger. It's exactly the same thing in terms of meaning. Forgive me. Pardonnez-moi. Pardonnez-moi. Pardonne-moi in the to form. Pardonnez-moi. Pardonne-moi. Pardonne-moi. Pardonnez-moi, je vous en supplie. Forgive me, I beg you. Pardonnez-moi, je vous en supplie. I ask for forgiveness. I ask for forgiveness. Je vous demande pardon. Je vous demande pardon. So this is similar to je suis vraiment désolé. Je vous demande pardon. So there are two ways of saying pretty much the same thing. Je vous demande pardon. If you really want to insist on the apology, you can actually say both at the same time. Je suis vraiment désolé. Je vous demande pardon. Je suis désolé is more how you feel. I am sorry. Actually, it's the same in English. You feel sorry, so you ask for forgiveness. So if you want to put the whole thing together, you made a mistake, you want to show how you feel about it, and you want to ask for forgiveness, that would be the proper procedure. Sorry, you can say pardon or désolé. I know in English we can say pardon, but it's when you want someone to repeat because you didn't get the sentence. Or sometimes there is the expression, pardon my French, so please forgive my French. Pardonnez mon langage, forgive my language. Excusez-moi, if you want to stop someone in the street. Excusez-moi, c'est où pour aller à Paris? How can I go to Paris? Excuse me, excusez-moi. Pardon, I'm sorry, or désolé. Or if you want to show how you feel, je suis désolé, or je suis navré. And more politely, veuillez m'excuser, je suis vraiment désolé, je vous demande pardon. How to say I love you in French. Most of the people already know it. It's je t'aime, je t'aime, je t'aime. And I'm always saying devocalizing the e in je will sound more natural because most of the people will say it that way. But when you're saying a powerful expression like je t'aime, you really want to emphasize on all the words. Unless it's something that you say quite often, many times, je t'aime, oh je t'aime. But if you really want to show your true feelings, then you will not devocalize e here. Je t'aime, je t'aime. Here in North America, we use I love you for anything pretty much. I love you, man. I love my friends. I love sushi. I love guacamole. We love everything. Even if we have a less strong word, which is like. I like this, I like that. And sometimes actually when you have a crush on someone, you can say I like him. But in French, we only have one verb, which is the verb aimer. And so if you want to convert I love you to I like you, you'll just add bien, which actually means good. Literally, I love you good. Je t'aime bien. Je t'aime bien would be towards a friend. So you could be friend zoned with je t'aime bien. So when someone says je t'aime, wait for it. And you can also tease the other person. Je t'aime bien. Other ways to say I love you, there is this game. It's removing the petals of a flower and counting and saying je t'aime un peu. Un peu means a little. Beaucoup, a lot. Passionnément, passionately. À la folie, madly. And some might add pas du tout. Not at all, I don't like you at all. Je t'aime un peu, beaucoup, passionnément, à la folie. And you go back to un peu, beaucoup, passionnément. So in this case, I think it makes more sense to replace love by like. I like you a little, I like you a lot, I love you passionately, I love you madly. Je t'aime un peu, je t'aime beaucoup, je t'aime passionnément, je t'aime à la folie. Just like enchanté de vous rencontrer. Convert that to tutoiement, it becomes je suis enchanté de te rencontrer. Same in French, you say je t'aime. But if you want to be polite to the other person, which is rarely the case, because usually if you're intimate with a person, you would use the tutoiement. But it could happen that you say je vous aime. Or if you want to respect, like in old-fashioned families, for example, people would speak to their grandparents in the vouvoiement, and so they would say je vous aime, but most of the time, maybe 90% of the time, people will say je t'aime aussi. I love you too. You love me? I love you too. Je t'aime aussi, je vous aime aussi. I love you too. Aussi means too. Je vous aime aussi, je t'aime aussi. Actually, I love you all. You can say je vous aime tous. I love you all, je vous aime tous. I love you so much. Je t'aime fort. Fort is strongly. I love you strongly. Je t'aime fort. Or you can add très, which means very. So I love you so very much. Je t'aime très fort. Je t'aime très fort. Je t'aime très fort. Okay, now a bit more cheesy sentences. I love you with all my heart. I love you with all my heart. Je t'aime de tout mon cœur. Je t'aime de tout mon cœur. So je t'aime, I love you. De tout, de, from, to, all, my, mon, cœur, heart. De tout mon cœur, with all my heart. Je t'aime de tout mon cœur. Okay, another cheesy sentence. I love you more than anything. Je t'aime plus que tout. Je t'aime plus que tout. Some people will skip the S and would say je t'aime plus que tout. That's also fine. Je t'aime plus que tout. Plus, more, que, than, tout, anything, or everything. Je t'aime plus que tout. Je t'aime plus que tout. I miss you. I miss you. Tu me manques. Tu me manques. In English, I am the one missing you, but in French, it's a little different. Manquer, it's you that is conjugated. Tu me manques. I miss you. Tu me manques. I need you. I need you. J'ai besoin de toi. J'ai besoin. J'ai is I have. Besoin, the need. De toi, of you. J'ai besoin de toi. J'ai besoin de toi. De, here you can devocalize the E. J'ai besoin de toi. Contract it to make it more natural. J'ai besoin de toi. J'ai besoin de toi. Actually, the D is almost silent. It's like a double consonant. J'ai besoin de toi. J'ai besoin de toi. J'ai besoin de toi. I need you. I want you. I want you. Je te veux. Je, I, te, you, veux, want. You can devocalize the E, but you have to choose which one to devocalize. And both actually work. So you can say je te veux or je te veux. Je te veux, je te veux. Je te veux, je te veux, je te veux. I think of you. I think of you. Je pense à toi. Je pense à toi. Je pense à toi. Je pense, I think, à, of, toi, you. I think of you. Je pense à toi. Je pense à toi. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know with a thumbs up or in the comments, and don't forget to share and subscribe to support this channel. Merci et à bientôt. Thank you and see you soon.